Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody to the MS&Me Radio Network. My name is Kelly Alderton. I'm out of a south suburb of Chicago, and I'm thrilled to be here speaking with everyone on the MS&Me Network. I think this is going to be an invaluable platform for all of us to focus on different stories, ideas, thinking, maybe things we've never heard before, but really share a widespread voice about MS and our MS family with a fuller community. So I do want to say I'm so excited that you're here for my very first call, and I really hope that this can be a benefit to everyone who listens. I am out of the south suburb of Chicago. I am an author. I am a small business owner, wife, and mother. Now, I've been dealing with MS going on 30 years. 2018 will be 30 years for me. I was diagnosed in 1988 at the age of 17. I was a senior in high school, and things were going well in high school. I had the normal issues with high school, friends, boyfriends, sports, the same kind of things that most seniors in high school have. And I would say after the first of the year, it was still quite cold here in Chicago, I started having some serious issues with fatigue. I was so tired. I couldn't go to school for a couple weeks at a time because I was just so exhausted. Of course, my parents did not think that I was sick. They thought I was faking. They just thought, I wanted to stay home and not go to school, which is what most parents would think about their teenagers wanting to stay home and just laying around. So my parents did take me to the doctor, gave me a checkup. He just wrote it off that he thought it was probably just a virus, that I would be fine, and I could just get back to school in the next day or so, which I did. That happened a couple of times in those winter months. Now we can fast forward to the April time frame, and we were just ramping up for the softball season. I play 16-inch softball, and for any of you from the Midwest, 16-inch softball is something we play here, and we don't use a mitt, but it's very popular. And I've been playing softball at that point for over 10 years. So I was really experienced, loved playing. Every summer we played with our friends and teammates, and it was something that I really thoroughly enjoyed. Now, I was ramping up in April for my very first practice. And I remember I got my cleats on and I was all ready to go, and the coach told us, go out in the field, guys, just pick a spot and we're just going to do some warm-ups. So he was hitting around all of us. I went into the outfield and figured I'd go in the outfield, work my way into the infield, and then go bat. The coach goes ahead and hits me a beautiful fly ball, and I start running in to catch it, and pow, it hit me right in the face. I had no idea. I misjudged it totally. Hit me in the face. Not only was it painful, but it was quite embarrassing. Here I am with my friends, my peers, and I just got hit in the face with this huge 16-inch softball. So I was not happy about that. I just kind of walked away stunned. And the coach said, all right, Kelly, I'm going to send you another one. Again, he sent me a beautiful fly ball. I ran into catching. It flew way over my head. I totally misjudged it. I was shocked because I have been playing softball for so long. I was on the all-star team. I was a good player. I knew how to catch an easy fly ball. I really did not know what was going on, but wasn't really too worried. The coach yelled for me to come in to take a few hits, and I thought, great, I can redeem myself now from this embarrassment. Went in, grabbed a bat, and it felt really comfortable, getting back in the swing of things again. I was taking a few practice swings with the bat, and everything seemed pretty good. And then the pitcher went ahead and pitched me the ball, and I swung and missed. In fact, I missed, and I started spinning around like a novice. I started spinning around like someone who had never even hit a ball. I don't know if you've ever seen those little kids out there when they're just starting up on t-ball and they hit the ball and they go spinning around. That's exactly how I looked. I mean, if you can picture that, the 17-year-old and just spinning around. I did not understand what was going on. Again, told my friend the pitcher, hey, pitch me another one. She did. Again, swing, miss, spinning around. I didn't know what was happening. I was so confused. In fact, after that second pitch that I missed, the bat was starting to get heavy. I felt very unstable. And then finally, out of frustration, I just laughed cautiously and I told my friend the pitcher, go ahead, pitch me another one. And she did. And again, another miss. So I struck out in 16-inch softball, which doesn't happen. And again, just was spinning around. Not only did I look foolish, I felt foolish, but also I felt very shaky and unstable. I didn't know what was happening. That bat felt like it was 500 pounds. That bat in my hands, it was just horrible. I don't know if you guys can picture that, but it was not a pretty sight. And it was very confusing to me. The coach looked at me and said, get to the bench. He was very frustrated with me. Get to the bench. And then he came over and talked to me and he said, are you trying not to make this team? Are you trying to get kicked off? And I said, no, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying. I don't really know what's happening. So at that point, the coach told me to go home. He said, go home and take a break. We'll see you at the next practice. On the way riding home, I was driving in my parents' new car. I really remember this because it was this new car and I just felt all cool, as a 17-year-old driving my parents' new car. As I was driving home, it seemed like there was this kind of glare on the glass that, was making my eyes kind of fuzzy. And I thought, maybe, the sun's coming down a little bit. It's getting a little bit later. Maybe that's the issue. So I kept driving. And as I was driving, every time I was making a turn, I was hitting the curb. In fact, I couldn't even stay straight on the road. It was like my judgment, my perception was all off. So I was kind of all over the place. And if you can imagine me hitting all these curbs, turning and hitting a curb and hitting another curb, I just didn't know what was going on. So I got home and I asked my parents, I said, I need to see a doctor. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with my eyes. Well, my dad, being the dad that he was, and growing up with 9 brothers and sisters, they're used to having traumas with kids, right? But not something like saying that something's wrong with their eyes. So my dad just said, you probably just need a new prescription. Don't worry about it. So we waited a couple of days and my mom did get me into the eye doctor. I really remember that appointment as being very abrupt and very quick. The doctor started looking around in my eyes and told me to leave the room and proceeded to tell my mother that she needed to get me into the pediatric neurologist immediately, which she did. They actually set up the appointment for me at Loyola to see a pediatric neurologist, and we went that next day. I didn't understand what was going on. I just thought, okay, cool, I get another day off of school, going to a neurologist. I really didn't even understand what a neurologist was at that age. Remember, I was just a senior in high school. I didn't know much at that time. And we went the next day to the neurologist, and he started to do all the standardized tests that they do for us. He had me first stand up with my hands at my side and said, close your eyes, Kelly. And I did, and I was literally swaying back and forth. I had my equilibrium was all thrown off. It was really weird to me because I didn't, of course, know that this would be what happens. he then said, okay, stand up. And I did. And he said, okay, touch your finger to your nose. I couldn't do it. I kept on hitting my cheek. I thought that was really weird too. Again, as a kid, we think we're indestructible. We really think we can do everything that we're asked. Then the doctor started asking me to follow his finger. How we have to watch, follow the fingers with our eyes only, do not turn your head. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't, my body practically had to follow with my eyes. I just could not do that. And I joked to the doctor and laughed. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be a difficult patient. And he stopped. After a few more tests, he stopped the whole process and said, we need to get an MRI right away. He told me to hold on a second, and they booked it right away. I went down and took a look at the MRI machine, and I was terrified. I didn't know what that was. I know he explained it was just like a simple x-ray, but to me, that looked like a tomb or a coffin. So I was really scared. And as we know, the noises that come out of that machine is terrifying. And that was my first experience with it by myself in that room. I was scared. And we went through that whole process, and I had the results back immediately. He literally told us before we left the doctor's office, he said I had 20 lesions, I had relapsing remitting MS, and I was clueless. I had no idea what he was talking about. He did say it's not a curable disease, but he said, Kelly, don't worry, we will have a cure in the next 5 years. I thought, okay, that's not bad. Cure in 5 years. Okay, I won't even be that old. This is perfect. And that's kind of what I always kept in the back of my mind was that conversation. Now, he gave my mom a stack of brochures about MS. And he warned me. He said, Kelly, please don't start going through those brochures. Don't start looking at all this information, because what we'll have is patients start to manifest symptoms after they read this information. I said, okay, I didn't really care about looking at the information. I had no idea of the magnitude that diagnosis that I was just given. I had no idea how debilitating MS could be. I had no idea how it would forever change my life. And I just thought, I'd be okay. I went home with optic neuritis. I had very weak muscles, legs, my right side of my body. And the doctor also told me that I should really pick up an eye patch because of the optic neuritis. It was making me so dizzy. I was so physically sick from it, nauseated. And any of you out there that have had optic neuritis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's horrible. And I was having issues, with that dizziness and just my equilibrium being off. Now, I did say to that doctor when he said I should really invest in getting an eye patch, I said, I'm a senior, right, in high school, and how they're going to love having a pirate and walking the halls with them. And I was laughing because we know kids are cruel, and anything that's different gets made fun of. And of course, I did get made fun of, pirate jokes, and I'm sure even more behind my back. But honestly, that patch did help me move forward in school while my eye was healing. Now, then, they didn't push the disease-modifying drugs like they do today. They were just using steroids, pain meds, things for vertigo, antidepressants, sometimes things to help you sleep. So that's really how they had me deal with my MS. Now, it's really interesting to also note that I do have an identical twin sister named Kim, and she was diagnosed in 1989, so a year after me. And what is very interesting about that whole concept is that Kim was actually exhibiting symptoms 2 years before I was diagnosed. She had drop foot, and they never had her get an MRI. They just put a cast on her, and then, a few months later, then the cast was off. So we didn't even correlate that to being MS related, but we now know drop foot is a very common symptom with MS. Now, it's interesting about myself and my sister Kim, because they still don't know why we have MS. They still don't know what triggers MS. They say yes, it's found, it's hereditary, or it's genetics, or it's vascular, or it's an infection, or it's maybe it's a nutrient deficiency, or we've been exposed to some environmental toxin. The interesting point about me and Kim is that we both played softball all those years, over a decade, under high-powered voltage lines, so power lines, for all those years. And I remember we used to joke at the power line sizzling all the time. Now, do we know that that is something that aided in us getting MS? Of course, we'll never know. But I also had another friend who played with us softball, and she also had MS. In fact, she's got a secondary progressive MS right now, and she played all those years as well under those high-powered lines. So it's just interesting when you start talking to other MS sufferers, and really what things could have happened, maybe what things could have been the trigger to that whole process. So that was something I always am intrigued about, is talking with other MS sufferers and saying, what did you have? Did you eat this? Did you do this? Did you not do that? Trying to really figure things out. Now, I've dealt with MS for so many years and been around, I guess, the proverbial block, if you will, in trying to find a way to heal. Now, I have been in hospitals all around the globe. I've been in hospitals in Germany, in Colorado. I've had years and years of trials and tribulations and challenges. I had Bell's palsy, loss of function in my limbs, depression, panic attacks, chronic fatigue syndrome. I told you about how bad that was. Of course, optic neuritis a couple of times, vertigo, aches and pains throughout my body, drop foot. And in fact, I had a lot of eye and vision problems that the doctors simply never saw before. They really didn't know how to treat me. They would probably put me in the hospital, give me some steroids, or take home the steroids. They just were clueless because it was kind of new ground for them too. Well, now we know MS is something huge. We know it's almost like an epidemic now in the amount of numbers in which people are being diagnosed with MS every day. Now, my last hospitalization for MS-related issues was in 1999 when I had drop foot. I had drop foot, and I also was losing the use kind of my right side of my body again. So I went into the hospital and did a round of steroids, and I was better in a few days, feeling like $1,000,000. And the doctors at that point said, "Kelly, you need to decide what disease-modifying drug you're going to be going on." And I said, "Okay, that sounds serious." And he said, "Well, I just want to get you started on something." It's interesting also to note that my twin sister, Kim, was also looking at what disease-modifying drug for her to go on at that same time. And so here we're both looking at what DMDs to go on. We were, investigating all the ABC drugs and deciding which one to get started on. Now, I was a little bit more thorough in my investigation and waiting to kind of hash everything out with each drug. And Kim, my twin sister, she just jumped in full force. First she started on Avonex and kind of went through all of the ABC drugs. And I said, okay. So I was watching my sister then and just trying to decide, but I was watching her to see if she was getting better. I was watching her to see what kind of reaction she was having. And some may say that was bad for my sister, but it was kind of good for me. We joke about it that she was my guinea pig. We still laugh about it to this day because I kept waiting for her to have a good reaction or get better. And in fact, she was sick all the time. She had cold and flu symptoms all the time, strep throat, tonsillitis, bronchitis, you name it. One thing on another, because obviously we know the DMDs aren't made to heal, and they do suppress the immune system. So that's why she was getting sick over and over. And I kept waiting and waiting for her to get better as she kept on going to this drug, to that drug, to the next drug. They were really trying to see what would be a benefit of her. And finally, in 2001, I started in a green products healthy living company. So a couple of things that I knew nothing about, but I wanted to be able to do something working from home, because at that time in 2001, I was taking 2 to 3 naps a day. My chronic fatigue was so awful. I had no quality of life. It was awful. I had aches and pains so bad. And for any of you out there, I know chronic fatigue, again, is one of the biggest issues for us. So you know what I mean, how it's hard to function day by day, especially having a family. I had a daughter, Sarah, at that time, and I had no quality of life. I felt lost. And I did start going with this green products company. And lo and behold, in that business, I started learning about healthy living. I started learning about healthy thinking. I started learning about healthy eating. It was phenomenal. But more importantly, in that company is when I was introduced to a world-renowned holistic doctor who heard my story, and he said, Kelly, I just want to tell you, you can beat MS. You can be healthy, and you can be having a long life with MS. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? He said, oh yeah, you can. You can beat MS. I said, no one's ever told me that. I said, I've had some of the best doctors in Illinois tell me there is no cure. There's nothing we can do. We just got to try to treat these symptoms. And he said, well, that's not true. So again, I was really skeptical, because like I said, I had these best doctors. But I was looking at my life at that point in 2001, and I had no life. I had no quality of life. I was so exhausted. At that point, I was so desperate, I would try anything. And so I said, okay, my sister's DMDs are not working. She's still doing really bad. And I said, I'm going to try this new path. I'm going to open my mind and my heart. And I prayed really hard about it, because it's scary when you're going to try something new. It's scary when you're going to do something that you don't know that anybody else having MS has even done. So I was really worried about it. But you know what? I just said, I threw all caution to the wind, and I said, I'm going to try this new path. I'm going to trust this doctor. And I did. So I first started treating my MS as a vitamin deficiency. And I noticed day by day, I was starting to get stronger. Day by day, my aches and pains were going away. Day by day, I wasn't having to nap. It was like a miracle. And I said, okay, let me start learning a little bit more about this. Let me start learning a little bit more about a healthy body. And so I started adding some more healthier foods to my diet, because at that point I was also a junk food junkie, and all kinds of takeout, nothing healthy. Because again, I wasn't equating a healthy diet with helping my MS. I just never thought about it. I know, isn't that really clueless of me? But I never put the 2 and 2 together. But once I started studying all this, I started realizing that all these different factors can go into us having a healthy life. And then I went even further and focused 100% of my efforts on healing my immune system, because obviously, MS, they say our immune system is attacking us, our immune system isn't functioning properly. So I focus solely on healing my immune system, and I turn to holistic and alternative therapies. I turn to chiropractic care, acupuncture, massage, meditation. I started to do Pilates and weightlifting to try to build up my body. I started doing personal growth and development, really focusing on how I was thinking. And it's interesting, when I went to my neurologist, and this was the last time that I saw him, I said I wanted to go down this holistic path. I said I needed to try a different way, since I was feeling so bad. And he really cautioned me against doing massage, chiropractic care, especially acupuncture. He said, hey, whoa, even the supplements. He said, whoa, whoa, whoa. He says, you're going to stimulate your immune system. And I said to him, but if I don't stimulate my immune system, if I don't get my immune system functioning properly, how will I ever be healthy? And he said, we're not worried about that right now. And I said, what do you mean we're not worried about that? And he said, we're not. We're just trying to get these symptoms under control. So right there, that was a red flag to me, because here I was studying everything about the body to try to heal. And there is a direct correlation with healing our immune system and healing our MS body. And I've been studying that now for over 10 years. And I'm happy to say right now that I'm glad I took that chance. I'm glad I opened my mind up and my heart to these new ideas, because I'm now living symptom-free, healthy, and strong well over 13 years. And it was really a blessing that all these things unfolded like they did. And today, I just want to tell you to be open to new ideas. I know where you've been. I know where you're at. I've been there. I've been through this whole roller coaster of MS, and I know we lose hope. I know we lose out on the idea that we ever be healthy again. But I want to tell you, please live in hope. Focus on your healing. When I focused 100% of my efforts on learning all about this disease and how to repair my body, it really changed everything for me. And after 5 years of being symptom-free, I want to tell you that is when my twin sister, Kim, chose to get off the DMDs at that point. And we had just had her on her last DMD, which was Rebif, and she was doing so bad, we actually had to get her a wheelchair. So here I am, 5 years symptom-free. She's still going the DMD route and doing horribly. Thankfully, she's doing much better today because she got off the DMD. She's focusing on a healthier lifestyle, focusing on the supplements. So I want to tell you, really focus on yourself, on healing your body. And I think day by day, we can make these strides to really have a whole body approach to healing. When I say a whole body approach, I mean your mind, body, and spirit are connected. And it's so important to look at each of those areas when we're healing. Yes, supplements are important. Lessening our environmental toxins in our home. How can we de-stress nowadays? It's so important. Eating a healthier diet. Having a great attitude. These are all things that are going to help you on your journey with MS. And I want to just say again, please live in hope, focus on healing. I hope we can connect. Please check out my book called Waking Up from MS. It's really my gift to others and telling you about my journey to health, healing, and living symptom-free. It's on Amazon, but I hope you'll connect with me also on Facebook and Twitter, either at Kelly Alderton or Waking Up from MS. I want to hear your story. I'd like to work together with you. Remember, we're all in here together. We're all doing what we think is best for our MS and for our health. And I know if we can stick together, share that information, and support each other, it's going to be a better world for all of us. So thanks so much for tuning in, and God bless.